The Earth is burning, glaciers are melting, wildfires are raging, and extreme weather events are becoming a terrifying new normal across the globe. All of humankind is looking for solutions, and EVs have been hailed as the savior by governments all over, including the Biden administration here in the US, and they are painting the picture of these clean, green machines being our saviors, guiding us towards a sustainable future. But wait a minute, don't you think we've already been through this? Didn't we fall for this kind of greenwashing before? Remember clean diesel? Turns out it wasn't so clean after all. So what about EVs? Are they a scam? Is there an even bigger EV lie we're all being fed? Ever since Elon Musk and Tesla first lit a fire under EVs with the launch of the Tesla Roadster back in 2008, they've been all the rage, promising a future free from gas stations and smog. But is there any fact behind all this hype? There are bound to be a few bumps in the electric highway, right? If you haven't already figured things out, the truth is that EVs aren't perfect. Sure, they don't spew exhaust fumes out of the back, but that doesn't mean they're entirely innocent. There is an alarming number of environmental and health concerns in the belly of this beast, and the need to take a look at the not-so-clean underbelly of the electric car movement is becoming more evident day by day. Remember those classic muscle cars from the 70s? The ones that rumble down the street with enough chrome to blind a bat? Well, those beasts from yesteryear weighed in at around 3,500 pounds. Compare that to today's average gasoline-powered car, which clocks in at a hefty 4,300 pounds. That's a whole lot of extra weight thanks to features like larger cabins, stronger safety cages, and all sorts of tech toys. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should we say, the elephant in the electric car, because when it comes to weight, EVs are real chonkers. The reason? Those giant lithium-ion battery packs. A typical EV battery pack can weigh anywhere between 700 and 1,200 pounds, which is like carrying around a grizzly bear in your trunk. And just like having a grizzly in your trunk, these batteries can become a massive safety hazard, which we'll talk about in its own section. So we've got these heavy EVs rolling down the road designed for lighter cars all those decades ago. What's the big deal, right? Well, the extra weight can have some surprising consequences if you aren't careful. For one thing, it massively affects stopping distance. Just think about it like this. It takes more force to stop a moving fridge than it does to stop a toaster, right? The same goes for cars. Heavier EVs take longer to come to a complete stop, which can be a recipe for disaster in an emergency situation, when you'll have to put on the anchors in a hurry. But the impact goes beyond just coming to a stop. The extra weight also puts a strain on the very roads we drive on. Imagine a ballerina gracefully floating across the stage. Now imagine a 500-pound sumo wrestler doing the same thing. See the difference? That's kind of what happens when these heavyweight EVs roll down our aging road infrastructure built for cars a half of their weight. As time passes, cracks appear, potholes multiply, and bridges start to groan under the pressure, and it will only be a matter of time before EVs bring about the complete destruction of our road network if governments don't do anything about it. Here's the scary part, though. This is far from fiction. Experts are worried that this extra weight could lead to more road collapses and bridge failures. Not exactly the kind of future we were hoping for with the electric revolution, right? Now, one thing that government officials love to bring up when shoving EVs down our throats is that they produce less harmful emissions to the environment. Sure, EVs don't have a tailpipe that pumps out toxic gases, but did you know that the internal combustion engine is not the only place producing emissions in a car? Tire emissions are a real thing, folks, and recent studies have found that EVs are the biggest culprits behind this. EVs are heavy thanks to those beefy battery packs we just talked about, and this extra weight can lead to increased tire wear, especially if you have a heavy right foot. On top of being some of the fastest accelerating vehicles on the planet today, EVs also tend to have regenerative braking. This fancy technology uses electric motors to slow the car down before applying the brakes, capturing some of the kinetic energy and feeding it back to the battery. While that's fantastic for efficiency, it also means the brakes themselves aren't used as much, especially in city driving. This all sounds good on paper, but the extra weight of an EV can make tires wear out faster than on a gasoline-powered car, releasing harmful toxins to the environment. But wait, there's more to the story. The whole life cycle of a tire from production to disposal has its own environmental impact. Here's where things get a little murky. Manufacturing tires requires a significant amount of energy and resources, and the disposal of used tires can be a real headache. Landfills are overflowing with these rubbery carcasses, and burning them releases harmful pollutants into the atmosphere. Putting tires aside, the rare earth materials that go into making EV batteries bring their own can of worms to the table. Have you ever taken a moment to realize where these materials are coming from and how they are retrieved from the earth? If you don't have a tough stomach, you won't like what we have found out. Cobalt, a key component in many EV batteries, is like the hidden villain in the supposedly clean story of the electric car. But its extraction process paints a grim picture, the complete opposite of the sleek marketing campaigns you'll see in the United States. A significant portion of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo, known simply as the DRC, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out that living conditions in this part of the globe aren't the best you'll come across. Don't get us wrong, the DRC is a country rich in natural resources, but unfortunately, that wealth hasn't trickled down to everyone living there. Cobalt mining in the DRC is often a brutal affair, and stories of human rights abuses and environmental devastation are all but common. Imagine children as young as 7 years old toiling away in dark, dangerous, and unregulated mines with their bare hands. These kids are exposed to toxic dust and chemicals, risking their health for pennies on the dollar, and there is no telling when these mines will cave in on top of their heads. It doesn't get much better for the adults either. Workers in these mines face backbreaking labor, often with the minimal safety equipment. Cave-ins are a constant threat, and exposure to cobalt dust can lead to serious health problems, including respiratory issues and heart disease. The working conditions are deplorable, and the wages are barely enough to scrape by. The environmental impact is just as concerning. Deforestation is rampant across the Republic of Congo to clear land for cobalt mining, and toxic waste from the mining process pollutes rivers and streams. These polluted waterways not only threaten the health of local communities, but also destroy fish populations, a vital source for food for many Congolese people. In a day and age where the whole world knows of the horror stories going down in the cobalt mines of Congo, it is truly astonishing how governments across the world are still forcing EVs down the throats of vehicle buyers. States like California plan to put an end to gasoline-powered cars as soon as in 2035, but would this be sustainable in the long run? In addition to rare earth materials that are used in EV production, the charging infrastructure that they rely on also leaves a lot to be desired. EVs might not run on fossil fuels, but the majority of the electricity powering them comes from the very same sources they're trying to escape from. Coal and natural gas plants still dominate the energy grid in many regions across the planet, and things don't show any signs of changing anytime soon. So while an EV manufacturer might boast that their cars produce zero tailpipe emissions, achieving a truly clean electric car hinges on a large-scale shift towards renewable energy sources like wind and solar power. Without solving that critical piece of the puzzle, EVs are essentially nothing more than just kicking the emissions can down the road. Let's not forget the range anxiety that plagues many potential EV buyers. While charging times are improving, they still pale in comparison to the ease and speed of filling up a gas tank. Imagine going on a road trip in your shiny new $100,000 electric car with the constant worry about where the next compatible charging station might be, especially in rural parts of the country where the EV infrastructure hasn't made its presence known yet. There's also the question of the hidden environmental impact of used EV batteries. As you already know, these mini power plants contain hazardous materials that require careful handling and recycling. But unfortunately, the current battery recycling infrastructure is woefully inadequate for the immense number of EVs being put out each year. Many used batteries end up in salvage yards, or worse, dumped into landfills and being completely forgotten about, posing a potential threat to the environment and public health. So, what does the future hold? A complete ban on gasoline-powered vehicles in the near future might be overly ambitious, but is becoming likelier by the day in some parts of the world. There is no denying that the transition to a cleaner transportation future needs to happen at some point, but it shouldn't be a forced march like we are seeing today. The Biden administration, along with the rest of the world, needs to be focusing on technological advancements, infrastructure development, and a diverse range of solutions in order for us to make the EV future a reality in a way that benefits everyone, not just those who can afford the latest model. Otherwise, EVs will end up nothing more than a scam, identical to what clean diesel ended up being. If you liked what we talked about in this video, we have more videos that dive deeper into the world of EVs over on our channel. So why not like and subscribe?